Hey everyone, this is Ben at T3, and this is match 2, game number 1 of the San Rafael Regional Tournament. Now, at the end of the last video, I had mentioned that there was some technical difficulties, so I'm just going to elaborate a little bit on this one. It turns out that the media that I was recording onto wasn't fast enough to record the quality of media that I was actually getting, so it would cut out at a random interval every once in a while. So I don't have every match of every game, and at the end of this match it actually cut out right before the last turn, so if you don't mind, I encourage you to watch. It's still a good game, and I can certainly fill you in on what happens at that point. So that being said, here we go. And you can see my opponent on the right is playing Chaos Theory, and I am playing The World Is Yours. And that opening hand has like I see two Plascretes, an Indexing, and a Diesel. So I really wished he would have kept that, but he decides to mulligan that back and get something else here. Now, Chaos Theory is actually a really good matchup against me just because of the speed at which the rig gets set up. It's blazingly fast when you to start getting out the breakers in the economy, and both of those things are really, really good against this deck. I don't have a lot of big ice, but it's pretty varied. I kind of hope that people run a little bit more early game and face check some stuff, as opposed to just getting the rig set up. And in any of these small decks like Chaos Theory or Silhouette, it worries me a little bit just because of their quickness, but Shaper more so than anything else because of self-modifying code, test runs, and the rest of the tutors that they have. Not to mention the recursion. Alright, so I'm keeping, and on my side of things here, hedge fund, click 1, so gaining some money, and I see a couple more ice in there along with an NAPD, so I'm probably just going to ice up a little bit. So click 1, he's going to run R&D, and I'm going to res that wraparound there. And the reason I do that is because I have a successful demonstration in my hand, and I want to make sure that that goes off. So, a little bit worried about the indexing, but and there we go. So he indexes click 3, and yeah, that's a really good move. Indexing is really good against anything in particular, but any of the smaller deck size corporations especially, just because of the density tends to be a little bit higher than the larger decks. And looks like he's running my hand on last click, which is awesome. That indicates to me that he doesn't have, there wasn't any agendas in those 5 cards. So I have 5 free turns to set up. But on the downside, it also means he has a bunch of turns to set up as well. So I still have a little bit of a time crunch, but I'm not so concerned if I need a little bit more time in the beginning of the game to get myself ready to actually handle his rush. And those 2 credits, I'm trying to capitalize on and get something going while he's made himself a little bit poor. And that installed card was a Sansan. I just threw it down to waste his time. If he wants to run it, he's more than welcome to. He can't trash it, can't really affect it. So, yeah, so he gains the credit and runs it, hoping that's a Jackson. I'm assuming he wants to trash, but it's just that Sansan, so no dice there. And just clicking for more money. And it looks like he wants to set up for that Opus, which makes a lot of sense, make use of Chaos Theory's ability, but doesn't really affect me, and again, it's kind of, the Opus does eventually when he starts getting his economy going, but right now he's giving me a little bit of time to keep doing my thing, and I'll install Jackson there. Pretty bad glare, but that's Jackson, draw up, get more cards in my hand, get past the indexing that he played last turn. And installing over that Sansan. Definitely looking to set up as the game pushes on, and this deck relies so much on the economy, those operation economy, that it can get kind of bogged down if someone just starts running and I need to res everything. You know, Sansan is, so yeah, makes a run on R&D since I drew past the indexing and hits a breaking news, which is the best thing for him to hit unless it was, you know, NAPD, but I already have one in my hand. Only one other one in the deck. And okay, so I install a piece of ice over R&D. I'm not really sure what that was. I didn't see it, but either way, it could be a number of things. If it's an Eli, it's gonna make him spend a bunch of money every time to get through. If it's a roto turret, that would blow up the corroder, which is awesome. Quandary keeps him out. Whatever. It's either way, it's better than just leaving that wraparound and having him only pay 1 to see the top card, and then following up with that hedge fund just to gain more money. And that operation economy is very, very important in this deck. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but 1-click and immediate funds are really, really good when I don't generally need a whole lot of money to run, so, or to pump out agendas. So he runs R&D, and I res that roto turret. Even though he has a fairy out, fairy's a one-time use program, so he gets 1 access, and then he's effectively locked out. And since roto turret's the only sentry that I play, it's kind of moot for me. I'll let him burn the fairy, and then if he plays another one or recurs it somehow, he's wasting his recursions to get past a roto turret 1 at a time, which is favorable in terms of cards and clicks, the card and click exchange. And he runs Jackson, and I let him trash it. Even though he has that Opus, I'll let him pay out to trash it, because it's fine. I don't need the Jackson draw, and I definitely don't need the 3 economy cards that I'd played up till this point. Even though, you know, they are useful, I'd rather have them pay out than do anything else. And ice up, play another hedge fund. So I'm in a pretty good position there with 2 ice in front of my remote and a Sansan behind it. And even after I res that Sansan, I'll still have a bunch of money to probably res that piece of ice. Okay, so Parasite is a good counter to the roto turret, but again, it's a card and a click, and it's not that efficient for him. Even though it did destroy the ice, I can just throw something else over top of that again and make him pay a lot more. And he goes back down to 0 credits, which is great. There's a lot of taxing cards in this deck. Even that roto turret, which he had managed to destroy, at best, unless it's a fairy, of course, but at best that costs 2 credits to get through. Sansan costs 5, NAPD costs 4 to steal, so there's a lot of little things in the deck that will catch up to him if he tries to run with no econ. So he saw the fast track, and I'm immediately icing up and using fast track, and I'm going to guarantee that's an Astro script. So next turn I can res the Sansan that's in the remote and score it out and start that train going. And if I can get that going this early in the game, it's a huge benefit to me, as any NBN player will tell you that, I'm sure. And it was really good for me to do that at that point too, because he had no money. So I know I could have rezzed at least one of those pieces of ice in front of HQ, and he didn't have any money to do it. But the sneak door play here was good. I didn't expect to see a sneak door outside of criminal. You really don't see it too often, but he's paying for it. So he spent 3 clicks to get it into play, and it's just going to go back on top of his deck, so it's not even going to stick around. So 1 access, and his entire turn, I'm okay with that math, even though his chances here are about 1 out of 6. I think I have 6 cards in my hand. 5 cards in my hand. So even though his chances aren't bad, oh no, I do have 6. So even though his chances aren't bad to get it, well, I guess they are pretty bad to get it. I don't mind that trade. So yep, pump out that Astro script. And just doing the math so we can see. Some people aren't used to my credit tokens there, so I always make it really, really clear to my opponent when I'm playing them. I make stacks of 5, and anything that's just laying flat is spare other than that, but I encourage players to ask because I don't want that to be an advantage to me. So he opens up and goes through and hits R&D, sees that toll booth. Again, perfectly fine with me, even though his economy is starting to get rolling. But I have the Res Sansan and the Astro, so lots of options are open. Doing some thinking here. Installing over R&D to help slow that down and gain a couple credits, so not really a whole lot going on there, but just fortifying my position a little bit. And he's still running with just that corroder, which is a big risk. He knows I play rototurrets, so he's putting himself on the line a little bit here and hoping I don't play another one, I guess, which I'm not sure if that's the best play, but either way, I'm going to res. It's an Eli, so not a big deal, but what this does for me is it makes it cost him a turn to get one R&D access. So either he's running and clicking through Eli and then paying 1 and spending 3 clicks and a credit to see it, or he's spending 5 credits, 6 credits to get through and see 1 card. This isn't a taxing deck, but those are pretty taxing numbers, and I'm perfectly happy if a player wants to do that. So now he's back down to 2 credits, and he's showing no interest in the remote and really trying to control R&D at this point, which is a good play, but I'm going to install an advance Beal here. So now I got 4 points. He's got just that breaking news. And controlling the remote controlling HQ isn't, controlling R&D isn't as good as it is as some other factions, I guess. Just because there are cards, and especially in NBN, that just let you accelerate the draw between Anonymous Tip, Jackson, and you just saw Green Level that I play. It's really hard to control it, especially when you're just getting 1 access. If he had RDI, or if he had the Maker's Eye or anything like that, it would be more worthwhile for him, and I really think he should be spending this time building. I can't really ever see what he has in his hand because it's above the camera, but it's not the most efficient way to go about this for single accesses. And I'm going to install a card naked, which I'm sure is another Jackson. Or it could be a Sansan. I've done that before, just since I had to discard down at the end of my turn anyway. So it's another Sansan, which I would have to discard it anyway, and I'll spend a click of mine to make him spend a click, and effectively 2 because he gained credits before that, hoping it was a Jackson. So again, one click of mine for an effective 2 clicks of his, even though money is pretty universally useful, and just gaining more money with Opus. And here comes another Astro. Going to fast track the Astro, install it, spend a credit to advance it, use the other Astro script token to advance it again, and score it right off the bat. And this is what people are worried about after Honor and Profit with fast track and NBN, just getting better at it. They've always been, the fast advance faction, but being able to chain Astro scripts that fast is really, really scary. No matter who you're playing against, just that type of speed you can't really beat. And he's still in this early game position here. He has his money and he has a breaker, and I'm at end game at this point. And it's really what I try and take advantage of. If I can keep them in early game and keep giving them little accesses, even though in that case that would have been game if I had drawn that. But he's still wasting a lot of time, and next turn I actually draw another breaking news and score it out. None of the other games are like this. Everything else is at least a full game, if not a full match. I apologize I had to do that to this one, but thanks for watching. Just like always, any questions, comments, concerns, just let me know in the comments.